right. Morning, everyone. We're just asking, Fuad, how are you? Can you hear us? Well, he'll join us
Yeah,
when he
loud
comes.
and clear. Good
Good,
afternoon, good evening, everyone.
good
Hello,
afternoon, good
hello.
evening, good night, everyone. Good. Welcome. Actually, yeah, I'm just curious. Before we, Lloyd, I'm going to ask you a question here in a second. Before we kick off, Lloyd, how's your app going? Which app are you working on these days? If you're up for it, what app are you working on these days, and how's it going, basically?
Yeah, so the app is Belief Forge, so beliefforge.com. Yeah, I'm onboarding users now, so I've got about 15 users. They're using the app. We're generating well, how long? About a week that I've been onboarding, and we've generated about 15 audio.
Okay.
So, bit of background: it generates audio.
Yeah, can you remind me, what
Yeah.
does your app do? What's the purpose
So
of?
it turns your I can't beliefs into ICANNs. So you go through a process and you explore what's holding you back, and it's aimed at entrepreneurs. So it's explores what's holding you back as an entrepreneur. I'm no good at this. I can't do that. All that kind of those sort of things, and then out of that it converts them into an audio that you play daily and regenerate as well. So there's random elements in it that you regenerate, but it's the same affirmations.
Oh,
And it changes your mind, like say, changes your I can'ts to I cans.
okay. How do I get subscribed?
There you go.
Belief Forge. Oh, that's a cool title. Belief Forge. Okay. Very nice. Um,
So with
wow.
this, I think we've discussed before. It's like so the back end is all no, and the auth is all NoCode-X, and the
Yep.
front end is vibe coded.
Okay. Very cool. So this part right here. What about this right here? How'd you create this page?
That was vibe coded, but that was just to get a quick page up.
Yep.
But I need to do it properly. It's just kind of a placeholder page, really.
Looks really nice. All right. So if I click on the get early access or join early access, that's how, yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool.
Awesome.
Very cool. Well, congrats.
So
That's
you,
awesome, man.
you've onboarded the first users, and already the first users are starting to use the
Yeah.
platform.
They seem to be doing. I mean, I'm just looking at statistics, and they seem to be doing well using it anyway. I've had feedback with various things that weren't working to start with, but they're all fixed. Just waiting. That there are things I know I need to improve, and there are obviously it's always going to be an ongoing thing. There's elements I want to add to the app and so on and so forth. But yeah, all the feedback's been quite positive so far. So I've started
Okay.
the marketing side of things, and we'll see where we get to.
Nice. Maybe if you're up for it, maybe on next campfire, would you be up for maybe doing a short demo somehow? Is there a part of it you can demo?
Yeah, I can demo the whole thing and show you the back end as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. If you're up for that next week, then that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll check diaries for work calls, but yeah, definitely.
All right. Awesome. All right. With that, Tristan, you ready to take it away?
Yes. Well, I'm ready as I'm ever gonna be, of course. So
I know you've had a busy couple of
um,
weeks, so yeah.
yeah, it was quite busy the last couple of days, especially. But I would suggest that because we've the last time we've gotten a question last minute on how to configure authentication through something like, for example, Google with NoCode-X. And we were able to answer it really in a really summarized way. But maybe we now do like a small build of a login page, and we configure this build. We configure this page and configure this page to log in through Google as well. If that's I think that's a good guide, and I can also show a little bit on the new blocks coming up as well while doing it.
Sounds good.
All right. So I'm sharing my screen, so I'm gonna head over to my local host right here. So again, I'm showing you guys this on our development servers. This is not in production yet. We might have some issues here and there with because we're still building the blocks, and we're still building some new functionality that is here. But all in all, it should come out pretty well already. So I've created a small login application demo, and it contains absolutely nothing. So that's already a start. Let's start to create a template, because the first thing that we will need in our application is a page, of course, a login page. So this contains nothing at the moment. So let's start with adding a horizontal list. So this horizontal list can be the width of 100% and height of 100%, because I want it to span my entire page. Okay, so I found here somewhere like a background image. So I'm going to use that as a background image for my login page. So I just copied the image address onto my clipboard. And now I will add this as being the background of this horizontal list. So now it spans my my entire page. I'm going to get rid of the padding as well, and of the border, because we have some rounded borders going on here. So that's gone. So now it spans the entire thing. Now the cool thing is I can go here to blocks, and as you can see, we've been building quite some blocks, and we will be building more blocks out. But one of the blocks that I'll be using today is the login for blocks. And before I do that, I want to get a little bit more control. So I drop in a vertical list inside the horizontal list. I will make it that it's a minimum size of 400 pixels wide, and for all other sizing, it should only fit the content like this. So, and it should not grow as well. It should remain the same size. And then I'll just say, okay, but my horizontal list, it should just center everything that is inside this horizontal list. So this is the way we center it. Did you get how I did that? Go to items, click vertical alignment center, horizontal alignment center, and all the children are just centered within this horizontal list. Now I can go to blocks, and I can grab my login form block and just drop it inside my vertical list that I've created. And I'll have to wait a little bit, since our development environment is also a little bit slower than the production environment. But here we go. We have a login block of completely login form on your login page, containing everything that you need. For example, email address, fields, remember me button, a forgotten password button, continue with Google, continue with Microsoft. So let's now do a little bit of styling on
Hey,
this.
Tristan, can you preview
Yes.
just that screen right there before you put any logic in it?
Of course. Let me first.
Oh, you
before I hit
remembered.
Run.
Wow.
I will disable the authentication.
First time ever.
And yes. And I will also bust the cache. So voila. So now we should have a page. Voila. This is the page previewed. But let's make it a little bit more beautiful, because there are all kind of things going on in design world these days, and one of the most hip and trendy things these days is called glassmorphism. And glassmorphism is designing something that looks as if it's a little bit of a piece of glass, so it's a little bit I think translucent is the correct English word. And
transparent, translucent,
or
yep.
transparent. Yeah, you can see through it, but not entirely. So it's a little bit blurred. So I found this awesome site, css.glass, which generates CSS for you the way you want with regards to glassmorphism. So this is like a card that is has an effect which is called glassmorphism. So, and you can adjust the transparency here, and so I'll just create like a little bit of blur, and I'll choose this color, and then maybe a small outline, and this generates this CSS for me. And I just copy the CSS to clipboard, and then what I do is I head over to my design system, scroll all the way down, remove the one that I had before, because I kind of did prepare this demo a little bit. And then I just copy paste this into custom CSS with the class name .glass. And now if I go back to my page, I can actually use this glass as this glass class. Oh my God, I made myself. This is not very easy for me, but okay. I can just use this as an class on the vertical list, and all I have to do now is get rid of the border. And now if I load up this page, it should have a glassmorphism background. Now it could be that this is not being taken into account yet because of the simple thing that there is another one in between. So let me, there is another a vertical list in between. So this is better. And then I remove the glass from the other vertical list, the glass from the other vertical list. So let me check this. If I can find it, of course. We have to use the navigator. Open up. This is not the correct one. Okay, can I go? Let me quickly, as I mentioned, sometimes we are in the middle of constantly fixing bugs, and this might be one of these things where we kind of created a bug while fixing it as well. Let me just quickly delete this one, and then let us add just a new block. Voila. If you wait a little bit, it'll be gone. We can add a new block, and then we'll have a login page. Voila. And then I can go in here and reset the, oh, weird things are happening right now. Really weird things are happening. So yeah. Let me reload this page. Okay. Voila. So this is better. So yeah, these are some really quirks that we still have to fix. Let me bust the cache real quick, and then let me reload this page in preview mode, and then you'll see this is being taken care of. So this is like a small translucent page. Of course, you can play around with the settings on css.glass, css.glass apparently, or you can still add some things like make it a little bit wider if you want, but you know the drill. Voila. So now let's focus a little bit on actually having the user log in through the normal login process. The thing that you have to do is, and it's still like this, authentication in NoCode-X happens through your workspace. So if a user authenticates, this user authenticates on your workspace, which means that you actually can grant the user a single sign-on experience for all the applications within your workspace. Now, we know this is not always the thing that you want as a developer. So we are working on ways. Actually, we're still in the concept process of thinking on how we will solve it, but we are working on ways on having users log into an application instead of the overlying workspace as well. But being the case today, we have to do some settings on workspace level to use this login page. So let us go to the workspace and then authentication, and then I can select here my login application demo app. So I'll have to look through quite a lot of applications. So I have quite some applications right here. Now, this is not always the case, of course. So this is my application app. And once this has been selected, I can select pages and actions that will be used throughout the login process. So the most straightforward page here is the login page, which I have just created. I'll give it a name before I link it up. And the redirect page, for example, which is the redirect after the user has logged in. That's the first page you go to after you logged in, and so on. You can also configure a one-time password page. This is when you want your users to log in with multi-factor authentication, and reset password page, and so on. These things could maybe be a topic for one of the future campfires. So let me quickly link this unnamed page right here, save it, and well, let's also name this my login page. Voila. So what is left for us to do to test this page is to create a protected page, which we won't switch off because we want it to be protected, but we want it to be recognizable. So let's just put on let's put a pie chart on this page. And if I now bust the cache and I go to this page, the protected page, I should be presented with my login page that I just created. So that's the first step. Now let's go and log this user in. So I go back to my login page. So let's now create some of the logic that we need to log this user in. I go to this sign in button right here. I create an action. I call this login. The first thing that I need to do is I need to fetch the value from the email input field and fetch the value from the password input field. So that's what we'll do. Get value of email input field and get value of password input field. Voila. Okay, so I'll select my email and I'll select password. And then what I need to do is I just log in. And I'll pass along email as an item from scope, and I'll pass along password as an item from scope. So when I go now to my protected page, I'll be again presented with a login page, and when I enter my email address here and my password here, I will be presented with my protected page. But first we need to create a user. So let's go down here. Let's create a user for development. So I'll just use this email address. I'll use this password right here. I'll just say, normally when you create users for other people, you can set here that the password that you've created for this person is temporary, which means that this user will be presented with an update password page the first time he logs in. So I'm going to switch this off real quick, and I'm not going to force myself having to configure an multi-factor authentication as well. So I'm leaving this off, and I'm not going to force myself having to configure WebAuthn to be able to log in passwordless. So I'm going to switch this off as well. And I'm just going to say this email address is verified, because else this user would have to go through a verify email process as well. And then I'm just going to create my user. I have to select the environment, because users are also separated between environments. You have different users for development, different users for test, different for accept, and so on. So I'll save this. Voila. And this user apparently already exists. So apparently I'll already have a user with this email address. So let me quickly grab another email address from tempmail.org. And I'll recreate this user. So this is a completely new user that I'll be creating and using to log in. voila. Development, switch this off and verify email safe. Yes, yes. Well, now we have created a user. Now we're ready to sign in. So again, I log into my, I open up my protected page. I hit sign in. I hit sign in, and maybe I have to again bust the cache. That could be the case. So let's try again. Ah, there it is. So now I am logged into my protected page. So let me quickly adjust a little bit my camera because it keeps on zooming into my face, and I don't want you guys to be scared. So let me quickly fix this a little bit. Voila, and let's zoom out. That's much better. That's much better. You were way too close up to my eyes. So okay. So we are actually logged in now, which is good. Now let's configure the Google login, which will allow us to log in with a Google account. What we have to do that is we have to go to something that's called console.cloud.google.com. There is a guide on doing this. I can by Google. I can put this in the Discord later on, but it boils down to this. You have to go to this page, API/credentials. You have to create credentials, and you have to create an OAuth client ID. So when you do that, you go through a little bit of a process where you say what kind of application it is, and in this case, it is a web application, and the name is, in this case, I'll just call this demo CF Campfire. What you then have to do is you can, while you're doing this, you can go to the authentication part of NoCode-X in your workspace. You open it up and you drill down. So I've had this one here already. So you drill down to identity providers and you click configure an identity provider. In this case, you choose Google IDP, and then you will be presented with, you can add a name to it. I'll just call it Google in this case. And what is important, very important, is that you add all of these redirect URLs or URIs to while creating your credentials in Google. So I can use these copy links here and add them all to my client that I'm creating in Google Credentials. So let's do that one by one. So the reason why you have to do this 4 times is you want this client to work for every environment in NoCode-X. So you want to add all of these redirect URLs as well. Once you hit create, you will be presented with the client ID, which you need to put in here, and with the client secret, which you need to put in here. And then I'll just give it a display name. Voila. So this is saved. Now I have an identity provider called Google. And let's now make sure that we can log in using this identity provider. So I go to this Google login button. I again create an action. And what I do now within this action is very simple. I can use login with IDP or login using an external identity provider. And all I have to do is give up the name that I've used to configure my identity provider in my workspace. Now, when I go to my protected page right now, and I'll have to make sure that I do it incognito because I'm already logged in. So you're still seeing my screen incognito, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So if I click continue with Google, of course, I'll have to bust the cache again. A lot. log in with Google, it takes me to Google and I can log in. So I can now log in, for example, using my Google account. And then I can, of course, yeah, I'll have to give some consent. And then once I am logged in, I am logged in. So this is how you can actually create a login using Google IDP. Now maybe something interesting, because sometimes you don't want users to be able to log in with a normal flow. Sometimes you want users to always log in with their Google account. There is a setting on the IDP where you will just force users to always use this IDP. So if you click this, if you switch this on, every time a user comes through your home page, it will only this user will only be able to log in through Google IDP. So voila. Any questions on that?
None here.
All right. All right. Maybe a little bit more elaboration on blocks. So we've created some blocks. I think we have 200 right now. Now, all of these blocks are generated using AI, but we do manual improvement on them to make them better as they are. So these blocks, as you have seen with the login form block, they allow you to quickly create a little bit more than what you can do with the really atomic elements. So for example, I've dropped the login form block already, but we have a contact form block, as you will see in a second. We've got order forms. We've got all kind of things that you can use as a blueprint for building up your page. And the idea is really that these blocks can be used to puzzle pages together without really having to drill down in every little single thing to make it pixel perfect, because they already have a blueprint for whatever you want to build. So there are quite a lot of them. Some of them we will release in our first release of these blocks. Some of them will follow later. This is really regarding to how many human intervention they need until they are ready to be used. Voila. So this is with regards to blocks. And then a little bit of an update with regards to some other functionality that we are creating right now. I know I haven't posted the video on the last campfire because it was really busy past few days. But now that Lloyd is in the building, he will be maybe happy to see that we have this thing that we can undo whatever we have done in the template editor. So for example, if I drag and drop a radar chart, and you cannot see it, Lloyd, but if I do Control Z, this disappeared. And I tried to give a demo last campfire, but a lot of things went wrong, as usually they do during demos. But this time it all works pretty fine. So if I drag and drop it to the other side and hit Control Z, it will go back to the left, as you can see. And if I hit Control Z again, it will disappear because I've added it. Now we're still in the workings, because we want this to work for blocks as well, and blocks is a combination of many parts. So we're still doing this part, but this really is the last piece of the puzzle to offer an undo in the template editor. So expect this really soon, together with the first set of blocks to be used in your application. Voila,
Nice.
voila. Something else, which is something that is still in the early stages, But let me quickly like reload this page for a second. But this is really in the early stages, but this really is tied together with blocks and is tied together with a question that Eddie asked us earlier. His question was, if I have something and I have an element in place and I want it to remain there, what do I do? So we did not really have a functionality for that, but we are actually building that because we really value this functionality. So the thing is, what we are building right now is the following. You can right click on an element, or you can even select a group of elements, for example. Yeah, you'll have to select the entire thing, of course. So this is a group of elements, and then I can choose either to lock them, which actually means I cannot move these elements anymore, or either to group them, which means if I move them, I move every element in the group. So we're still working on this, but this should arrive together with the undo functionality and together with the first set of blocks really soon, which will allow you to make sure that you don't break what you have built before. So group things, this is a very common functionality, and lock things, which is also very common. Now, grouping will work in a way that moving an element on the template editor will keep them grouped, so they will all be moved together. But you can still select the element inside the group and then tweak its style according to whatever you want it to be. So this is really something to help you with visually editing these elements. And blocks will, of course, be grouped by default. A block will be grouped by default. So yeah, and there are plenty of bug fixes that we also done, and that will be moved together with the next release to production. But I think maybe it's now a good time to move on to questions. If you want to see which bug fixes have been fixed, keep an eye on the latest changes in NoCode-X, where we will actually elaborate on those bug fixes and on the new features that will arrive with the upcoming release. Okay.
Awesome.
Are there
Awesome.
any questions?
Yeah, one in Discord from Milena.
Right.
Within how many days will each campfire recording be published on YouTube, just to manage my expectations and perhaps those of others?
Yeah, I'm trying to do it the day after the campfire, but this was really a special week because we had to travel for some projects that we are doing, so we really didn't have the quite a lot of time to put the campfire on YouTube. Now, for Milena, especially for Milena, we have some good news, because the campfire of last week is on YouTube at the moment. So all I have to do is put the link in the Discord channel, and that'll be fixed already. And I'll promise you that as soon as I have the recording from this one, I'll upload it to YouTube.
Okay. Very cool. And there's always a slight delay because when you record with Zoom, I think it gets it to me within like 20 or 30 minutes after the session
Yeah,
ends.
not only that,
So, yeah.
we have to do a little bit of editing always. So it's not that it's not that it requires a whole lot of work, but we have to do a little bit of editing here and there.
But some work. All right, that's the only question I see in Discord. Let me double check. I don't see anything in Zoom chat. Anyone in the room have any questions? Lloyd, question.
Yeah, it's one I asked on Discord in the questions section. What's the best way to secure an API? Because I've thrown a load of APIs together because I'm vibe coding the front, so it's going backwards and forwards. And now I've got users and stuff. Obviously, I want to start locking everything down and making it secure for them and for the app itself. I just don't understand how you secure them. I see the authorization rules and stuff. I don't quite understand how they work, or whether, because all I want to do is just put a simple header auth into the API request and do it that way.
Yeah.
Really.
So the best way, absolute best way of securing your APIs is the following. So you are already using NoCode-X as a backend and as an IDP, an identity provider for your users. So actually your users that register for your app are being registered within NoCode-X, right, Lloyd?
Yes.
Yes. So what you can do is, if you create, am I still sharing my screen? I'm still sharing my screen.
Yes.
So if you create an API, this by default will require authentication, and you can add authorization rules to it. So authorization rules actually mean that you can. So there is a difference between authentication and authorization. Authentication means a user will let you know who he or she is, and based on that you can restrict access or you can grant access. That's authentication. Authorization is a user will let you know who he is, and based on the rules that you have inside your application, you can decide if Tristan has enough privileges to access something or not, and that's authorization. So am I authorized to do something? Authentication is we know this person can call us or call our API. Authorization is, can this person call this particular API? So the authorization rules help you define that. So for example, if you go down to users, groups, and rights, you can create groups and rights. I always think of it this way. A right is something really granular, really small. So for example, if you have a database of audio recordings, you might create a right. For example, let's create one right here. Read audio. Well, it's a bit weird that you would read audio, but read audio means that you can access the audio. And so I've created this right here, and then you might want to, for example, also have the right delete audio, right? And you might want to create the right read user information, something like that. Now, maybe you don't want to give a certain user the rights to delete audio. Maybe you only want to give a user the rights to read the audio. So what you can do then is you have the approach where you can just manage permissions of a certain user. And now I have to find my login application demo again. So quickly bear with me. I promise I will quickly find it. So then I can choose between these rights. So these rights will be granted to this user, which means that this user can read audio or delete audio. That's one way of doing it. But I suggest you do something in between. You create a group in between, because this will be much more dynamic or much more easy to manage in the future. So what you can do is you can subdivide your users into groups, and you can say this group has this set of rights. For example, I create a normal user, and I say normal users, they are always allowed to read audio. So I save this, and then I can create another group, which is, for example, an administrator. And then I say administrators can read, so admin can delete audio and can actually read audio. Save it, voila. So I have these groups, and what I can do now is I can go down to a user manage this user's permission, and then again find my login application demo, and then I can choose, is this an admin or is this a normal user? So that's the start. So now we have a sort of set of rules or sort of set of authorizations for our users. Now all we have to do is check those authorizations. So if we go down to our API here, and we open up our authorization rule, we can say, okay, only admins can actually access this API, or we can say only normal users can access this API. But again, I would advise, but that's the way I always do it, is if you link privileges and authorizations to users using groups, but check authorizations using rights, because that's the most fine-grained way of doing it. So because you'll probably have an API that will delete a piece of audio. You probably have an API that will read a piece of audio. So this makes it much simpler to just switch on delete audio here if this is a delete API for you. And if you've done that, these rights will be checked while the user is actually accessing the API. Now, of course, before this user can access the API, it has to be authenticated first. And what you have to do to be able to do that is you go down to your workspace, open up authentication, and then I'll have to look because I think something is off right here. I was expecting authentication to have maybe I'll show it in production because that it should be available anyway. So if you go down, let me open up this one here. If you go down to workspace authentication, scroll down. You can enable API security here, and this will give you some information on how to actually authenticate for your APIs. And I can understand that just giving an API header, passing an API header is the most easy thing to do, but it is not the most secure thing to do. What we want first is we want to have so a user has a password and a username. We want to exchange this password and username for something that is called an access token. And then we can give this access token to every request we do. Because the reason is simple. We do not want to pass along the username and password for every single request that we send to NoCode-X. Because that would be very unsecure, because you would have to store the username and password somewhere, and that could be hacked really easily. So the thing that you do is when you arrive on the when you log in to your app, you have to either way fill in the service username and password, and you actually get an access token in a return. So this is the curl command. You can use this. I think we have some documentation on this on the documentation pages. If not, I'll ask Wim to add some documentation on this. You get your access token, and then the idea is, let me see if we have something in here that explains it better. The idea is that with every request you send this access token as something that's called an authorization header. I know it is very well, it is authorization you're doing at that point in time, so that's absolutely correct. Authorization header, and that's prefixed with bearer JWT. Now, to make it completely easy, Lloyd, I think you're using this as well, OIDC single page application. This library does that completely for you, so you don't have to worry. if you're using this library, you're already authenticating your users to use the API. The next step is authorization, as I showed you with groups and rights. So voila. I hope this answers your question, Lloyd.
It does, but I have one use case that is outside of a logged in user where I have a self-reg form.
Yes.
And that's obviously calling an API to register the user.
Yes.
So one thought on securing that so it can't be used programmatically to just generate. I mean, at the moment, you know, I'm not that big, and I can't imagine people are going to try and create thousands of users to start with. But it'd be nice to tie that down.
Yeah, that is a very, very good question. We actually, when you build your pages using NoCode-X, we do this thing where it's called CSRF, where you can only actually call the logic from the pages of NoCode-X, and you cannot call it from another page. So what happens? It's a process where when you load a page, you request a token from the backend. You get this token, and you use this token to call the backend, your API actually again. And all CSRF is indeed cross request forgery. So this is actually something to prevent CSRF. And the backend checks this token if the backend actually written this token, then it knows, okay, it's coming from a page that is one of mine. So that's a bit how it works. Of course, there's some encryption taken into account there. So this happens by default when you use the pages on NoCode-X. In your case, we can look into on how we can also offer this to be used through the APIs, because we have.
I've just realized. So what I'm actually doing is I'm embedding a not a page, a component. I'm embedding a component via iframe onto the page.
That's
so I'm
exactly
still using NoCode-X.
Yeah. So that's exactly the same. So this one is already protected for that.
Yeah.
So you can actually I don't know if this is a saying sleep on your two ears, but you're protected for this kind of this kind of attack.
Cool. Okay. So I've solved my issue by using NoCode-X in the first place.
Yes. Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And tell us the Dutch phrase again about your two ears. I like.
Yes, sleeping on your two ears means you don't have to worry.
Sleeping on your two ears.
Yeah. We have weird phrases in Dutch. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
All right, great. We have 3 minutes left. Anyone else have a question?
Just one thing on the blocks, Tristan. Is there any thought on having a so the pop-up that describes it? Would it be a user benefit to have a screenshot of what that block looks like?
Yes, we are at the process of we are still thinking about it. We are having ideas on how to do this, but we want to make this much more visual and much more in a way that you can see what will actually be on the screen when you drag and drop, and not only the elements but also the blocks. But we are figuring out ways of because we want to scale to a ton load of blocks, so you have a whole lot of opportunities, and we want to figure out a way to visualize that easily for every single block. So we will be doing that. Absolutely, we'll be adding a screenshot or something of a kind to make it much more visual on what the block will look like when you drag and drop it. Because to be absolutely 100% clear, these blocks, when you drag and drop it, they now take a little while until they are loaded. but in production, when we put it in production, it should appear instantly on screen. So you should be able to easily drag and drop a block, delete it again, drag and drop a block. But the reason why it is a bit slow is I'm using localhost to show it, because this is our development environment, and it has a little bit of more network lag, because I have to hop a few servers to be able to access the database and stuff like that. So yes, and maybe something with regards to blocks as well, because I haven't told that yet, but our idea is that Rocket Mode will in the future will only use these blocks as a way of putting together screens. So this will be a combination of generated blocks with human in the loop, where we fix whatever is generated by the AI, pre-generated, so it doesn't cost you AI credits, and Rocket Mode will then pick the blocks according to your question. Now the cool thing will be is when we build this, which will be hopefully in the near future, you will be able to select a block, and then this is one of your questions also with regards to AI assistant, Lloyd. Then you will be able to use the AI assistant again in the template editor to request changes to that particular block or that particular group of UI elements. So we're bringing it back in a more in a way where you can focus the AI assistant on a certain part of your screen and ask questions about that part.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Okie dokie.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for attending, and we will see you next week.
Okay. Thank you, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.